I'm a little embarrassed about this purchase because I had bid on this, just the minimum bid on eBay, and kind of thought there's no way I'll win it. Like it's too little money for how expensive I would think this boot would have been. It's a custom build, so not exactly sure what the price would have been, but definitely more than I paid. They were basically unworn. The guy said he actually says he was watching my channel, which is funny. It'll be funny if he sees this video, be like, hey, those are my boots. But he said he never wore them outside. I would believe it because the soles like literally had nothing. There's actually some issues that I think just came from the manufacturer where they hit it with the grinder, where a couple stitches in the bottom seem to have worn off, and then the Vibram logos kind of smoked, and I'll show you. But they definitely don't look like they've been ever worn outside. And then the leather, you'll see here in a moment, has I guess a propensity to show water. And this is, again, I've always been concerned about getting this a boot in this leather because of what happens to it. It's not really water friendly. But here, so this is Frank's front range. So I'm not a Frank's guy. I don't know how they go, but all I can tell is the front range is normally an 8-inch boot, and it always has a logger heel, a tall logger heel like this, typically an 8-inch. I think all Franks actually come for some reason with the, kind of hiking boot, cotton lace, or whatever these are, nylon. And they normally are in like more of a work leather. They're more of a humdrum looking boot. This is a 6-inch. I think they normally have a little bit darker edge finish, and I don't think they normally come in Wickett and Craig. What is this? English Bridle medium brown. I don't see these on their site, on Frank's site. Rolled top, and then what's really interesting is, see that gray inside there? Hopefully you can see this on the camera. That is a lining. It has a gray leather lining, so it's not like if you look at the inside of the kiltie, come on camera, it's that typical, more of like a tan, whatever, you know what I mean? That kind of raw leather color, but the inside has a weird ripple, and it's a lined boot. So the story I understood from the seller of these on eBay was he bought them, and he's a Frank's guy. Sounds like he's gone through a lot of the Pacific Northwest brands, like all of us. Kind of, I don't know. We need a name for us. Like I was saying to somebody in the comments on one of my videos, there needs to be like an AA for boot acquisition, because like we're clearly addicts. I'm an addict. He got these and decided this leather was too dressy for him, and I could see why. It's very shiny. It's definitely not a work boot. This is go out to dinner, go out in the town. It's not a dress shoe, but has that vibe. That wasn't for him. And here's what I mentioned this without showing it to you. So they obviously, I've seen this happen on other boot makers where when they're cleaning up the side of the heel, they bump it with that spinning, but they have that weird one for doing some of the edging, and they obviously nicked it right here. Who cares? And then this is a little more concerning, but I still don't think it's a problem. Come on, camera, stop looking at me. Right here, there's some stitching, like one thread, one stitch almost looks popped, if you will. They must have just bumped this, but it's not going to matter. I mean, this isn't going to come apart. So here's what's weird. These are an 11E. Sorry, I'm going to put these down so you can see the box. Frank seems to use the same box as Nick's and White's as far as the shape. So front range, Wickett and Craig, English Bridle medium brown, 11E. 6-inch. Made in USA. Here's the other boot. Actually, let's put this one over here. This one's only defect. That was not a defect. It looks like when they were stitching the sole, when the needle popped through or whatever, right here. You could see it lifted this up. Like it's not like it's supposed to be like this one, where it's really perfectly smooth. But that's not it. I'm not worried about that. These are an 11E 55 last. I asked him before I bought them, or right when I paid, maybe. I'm like, these aren't a custom, because he had said something about being custom fit. I'm like, wait, these are not like a custom size, right? He goes, no, I just was fit. So these are supposed to be an off-the-shelf 11E. I had 3 whites 55 boots, all in 11D. One of them was extremely tight. You've seen some videos previously. They've been sold. Those were the Huckberry, Red Dog Rough Out. Cool boot, unstructured toe, which was kind of new for me, but I ended up liking it. But they were just too tight. I thought they would work, and I wore them for a little bit, but it was me taking off my 310s Vibergs one day and putting those on. For some reason, I put them on later, and I was like, oh my God, it feels like my foot's being crushed. I gotta sell them. I can't wear. I literally took pictures that night and then posted them on Reddit and sold them to an individual in there who said they fit great. He has sounds like a half size smaller foot than me, and for him it was perfect, which is what I thought. Like someone who is an actual Brannick 11D, I bet you that boot was perfect. I'm 11.5D, and that went south. So anyway, 3 pairs. One of them was exceedingly tight. Sold them. I have the other 2 pairs left. One of them was my first pair of whites, which was the C350 Centennial 350 Cruiser. It's the stitched down, not the hand stitched. And I got it on sale during Black Friday from Whites or Cyber Monday. I thought they fit okay, and the more I'm wearing them and compared to other boots, I'm starting to question that. They're kind of snug, but they feel fine with a light, like a thin sock. First time I put them on, they feel fine. It's more like by after dinner, like in the evening, they kind of feel tight. And then, but they still work, but they're snug. It's more the big toe push. It feels like it's pushing it in. That kind of annoys me. And then the third pair, which fit the best, is a semi-dress in 55 that I got off eBay, like basically unworn, for quite a discount. I posted about them before. And those fit pretty much great. There's a little bit of maybe that big toe push, and then a little bit of the pinky on my right foot. It's not like my Overlanders where it's like smushing my baby toe, but I can feel it. It kind of like becomes like hot by the end of the day, like from being pressed a little bit. They're Chromex, brown Chromex sole as far as I can tell, and that helps because it's a soft leather and it stretches. But I think those fit pretty decent. Maybe not perfectly. Anyway, I thought, well, 11D in the 55, maybe a little bit too small. Maybe 11E, or maybe 11.5D, but maybe 11E would work. This is an 11E, and this runs quite big. I put them on initially, and I was like, oh my God, these are amazing. These like don't have any toe crush. It's like pure luxury. So much room. Awesome. And then I wore them for about 20 minutes, and I was like, I think I need to wear a thicker sock, because I always was wearing thin socks in other boots. So I put on my thicker boot socks that I wear with like my 405 Albans, and what other boots? My whites, auto white vintage weird welted boot I got off some random Western store in like Oklahoma. I don't know if I've ever posted a video about those. Those are 11E, and they're not a 55 last. I don't know what last it is. It's slightly pointed, almost like a Packer last, but it's a welted boot, so it's not necessarily a stitched down last. Those I wear the thicker sock. So I put the thicker sock in. I was like, oh, okay, this is perfect. And then I wore them for like a day, and I was like, they're still kind of big. So now I'm like, well, do I need to sell these on to someone else? Because this runs really big. Like, this feels like an 11 double E or something, like really big. But then I remembered a lot of people talk about, whoa, and the boot's a little bit big, put in one of those leather insoles, and you fill out some of the, I guess the issue is it's like my instep's not really filling it out, and then you can see it kind of smushes. Some of this I think is exaggerated because of this Wickett and Craig is really boardy, as they say. It's kind of a stiff leather, so it's kind of a weird break. But they're clearly, You know, like I feel like these boots are supposed to be snug on your feet on the sides, and these aren't. They're like a little bit too relaxed. So I don't have a leather insole. I noticed Nix sells them. They're leather insoles. You don't get to pick which color or kind. They just have the insole, like on their website. They're $25, and you can pick Wickett and Craig, or the work leather, or there's a third option, and then I think you can pick the color maybe, or one of them. They have them on Amazon for $19.99, free shipping. It's not Prime, so they're shipping them to you. So I think I'm going to get them late next week or early next week or something, or early the following week. A little slower shipping, but it was probably faster than ordering it from them, I figured. And it is cheaper, $5 less. I don't want to expend too much on this before I just give up on these. So anyway, I ordered some leather insoles because I took a leather insole I have of my Oak Street trench boots that doesn't really fit in here properly because that's like a tighter last, but a size 12. But I kind of was able to jam it in there a little bit. The heel was still lifted because it's a little too long for this. And it felt a little good, and then I actually threw in those Super Feet insoles I've had for over 10 years. But I put those in here for now. Let me see if I can get it out. It's not worth it, but they're in there. Hopefully, I don't know if you can see that. And it might make them work. So I found with a thicker boot sock and the insole, it may actually work out. And it's kind of weird because I don't want to necessarily give up on them because one, they were, I feel like kind of a deal for a Wickett and Craig Frank's boot for less than $500, like that unworn, like basically new, just had been tried on basically. It seems like a decent deal, and I like the look. They do look cool. If I end up keeping them, I'm gonna put rawhide laces on them. These laces are just chintzy. I don't know why. Why does Frank's use these laces? They don't stay tight. Like when you're pulling them, they just slide right back through the eyelet. The rawhide like kind of holds better. So these are kind of strange laces. And then I'm thinking, I don't know, I kind of don't want to completely lose that generous feel because that's kind of cool. And then I was thinking, you know, in the summer, you're hotter, I'm going to try to wear boots a little bit. It's tough. It's hot here in Northern California, but, you know, maybe I need to account for foot swelling if it's warmer. You know, if I'm going to go out to a nice dinner or something, maybe I'll throw on the jeans and throw these boots on. So I'm like, oh, I might give them a little bit of a little whirl before I totally give up on them and pass them on. But they're pretty cool. Only concern though is like this, I don't know what I was doing. I had like a little drip of water on one of them, and there's already like a permanent little dot when I got them. I mean, I saw these on the eBay pictures. There's a little water drip there and rub marks. This Wickett and Craig leather, and I've seen this on like forums and Reddit before I was off Reddit. It just seems like you sneeze on this leather and it's stained. So that's kind of a shame. I don't know what you're supposed to do to try to keep it look a little decent. I mean, it's a boot, but like, I don't want it covered in stains. This was the only bummer too. I didn't see this in the pictures on the site, on eBay, but there's a ding on the toe, but whatever. It's a boot. When you're looking down at it, you can't even see it, but he must have kicked something, or this was like it. I think he told me he got measured by them, and then when they figured out his size, he asked if they had anything, and they found, this is what his story was, they found these in the back. I was like, well, that's friggin' lucky, because this is a neat little pair of boots. My first tall heel PNW, I'm a proponent of the moderate height heel that White's does on, I think, most of their boots. And my one, I currently have 3 pairs of Nix, but I'm probably going to sell the Overlanders. The 2 of them are the low arch with like a block heel, but my Prospector is 11067. Those are actually on a moderate heel. So I thought this would kind of make it look like a women's boot, but it doesn't actually look ridiculous. Didn't even offend the wife or kids. My daughter had seen a picture. I was showing her a pair of Nix Urban Lager mock toes that were on ready to ship, and she said they look like women's boots. So I was like, well, maybe I'm not going to ever get into the classic heel, but it doesn't look bad. Frank's build quality is pretty good. Wouldn't say it's better than Nix, but it's definitely same level. You know, there's a stitch here or there where it's jumped 2 holes. I've seen the same thing on, I think, all of my Nix, or at least a couple of them. Some of the stitching's not perfectly aligned, but it's pretty bang on. It's not like whites where it's like, was it Friday and you guys were just trying to bust that boot out to get out the door with all the problems with, I don't know, whites just seems like quality control is a disaster. Frank's is nice. Definitely on par. I wouldn't necessarily say better, but you know what though? This lining, this isn't something you can do, so maybe they do have the capability to offer that more custom hardcore boot than Nick's. I think Nick's used to, but they don't anymore. But I don't think it necessarily makes it a better boot. It's just different. But if you want that customization, I guess that's cool. I don't think I've ever seen a Nick's boot where you could do a lining. Not that I would want that, but. So yeah, long ramble. A little embarrassed that I got 2 pairs of boots so close by, but you know, this, I guess I just was on a whim. I'm like, I'll put that minimum bid in and see what happens, and then nobody else bid on it. And then I ended up buying those ready to ship Overlander Northwest that I'm wearing right now, and I kind of feel like gluttonous getting 2 pairs of boots within like the same week. But I'm not sure these are keepers. I'm going to wear them possibly a couple more times with these Superfeet foam insoles while I wait for my leather ones. I really want to see what the Nick's leather insoles feel like with these, and then that plus a thick sock, a boot sock, not a super thick sock, but a boot sock. How does that go? But I don't know. What's your thought? Do you guys have anyone you have Wickett and Craig watching this? Do you see weird creasing like this from where it's almost like this one's the worst? It's like every step I take and my foot bends, this part kind of presses down, then it squishes the whole boot, and you see all this. And I feel like if it was a tighter fit, that wouldn't be possible, but I don't know if it's because this is the, you know, boardy leather, stiff leather, and that's the game. If that's the game, that's fine. They're not like super sloppy, but they're not. That with just a normal, like if I wore the thin sock with no insole, then they are super or sloppy, not super sloppy. But it's just something strange. I have come to the conclusion that they either don't use the same last or they're doing something else, because this is way bigger than an 11D to be only up to an 11E. It's width-wise, not the length. The length feels about the same. I put them next to my. I'll throw out a photo actually I took of them next to each other. The length is virtually identical as it should be between the 11D, my C350 whites, and this, but it's so much wider in the ball. I'm like, I don't know. Is this a double E that they mislisted as an E, or did they do something else? I'm not really sure. Probably they don't have the exact same last, even though I thought they were supposed to. But I don't even know. I don't know. This whole last thing is a whole problem. Nick says you can get the same size in all their lasts. I don't think that's true at all. That's what I've been told. The H&W 11E doesn't fit well for me. It's sloppy in the heel, but then super tight in the toe box. The 1167 and 11E fits pretty dang good. Maybe a little bit of heel slip, not significant. It annoyed me a little bit, but I've kind of accepted it's not that bad. Toe room is pretty good. I understand it's a little bit narrow over last, but it's like good snug, firm handshake snug. And then the 55 and 11E I thought would be sort of like that, maybe a little bit wider. And this is the representation of if like they use the same last, and this truly, it says 11E by the way on the boot. I'm kind of astonished, because then it's like that would mean the 55 runs really big for that size. The 67 runs a little snug. I have to wear a thin sock, and then it fits decent. And then the H&W fits tight, but with a loose heel. So I don't know what to think. Maybe these lasts aren't all the same between manufacturers, and that's what accounts for this. It almost makes me think, so if I don't keep these, I'll have to at some point try a 55 and 11E from Nick's to really figure this out. So this is my concern. If you look right here, it's kind of like a little bit of a roll right here. Obviously they're a little big, like I said, and that's why I have an insole in them, a thin one. I'm going to try the leather when I get it in order to Nix insole like I mentioned, but is this a Wickett and Craig thing? Or is this? Clearly they're too big. I don't like the way that looks, that little roll. Otherwise it's unfortunate because they're really nice. There's no, my toe's right there, but no press. My foot's right here. This roll sticks out a little bit, but it's like there's my foot, but there's a roll. Feel my big toe right here. There's a little bit of space here. This is touching. The roll obviously isn't. And you can see there's a little bit of space. This is nice and snug. Snug, very snug right here. So it's really good there. And then there's room. But like, is that wrong? Should it be tighter? All my other boots are obviously much tighter. I have a thicker cushioned boot sock. And that little foam Superfeet insole to make them fit like this. They're clearly too big, too wide I should say. They're not too long, but too wide with my thin socks that I wear with my other boots. But it's just so strange that 11D is sort of tight, and then 11E is kind of huge width-wise. Like, here we go. I was wearing these earlier. This is 11D, 11E, both supposedly 55 last. Length's the same, but a lot more girth. These I wear with a thin sock. These Timberland socks, very thin. Yeah, anyway, mostly just curious. Those of you with some experience with a Wickett and Craig leather boot, is that kind of rolling and folding just kind of part of the deal? I heard it's boardy leather. Or should I just realize these are just a little too wide and neither Frank's? You know, that's another question for you guys. Anyone have 55 boots from Frank's and Nick's, or Frank's and White's really would probably be a better example? Is the last fit the same? Because my Whites are 11D, these are 11E Frank's. If the lasts are different, then there's no real comparison. I just assume they're using the same lasts. I mean, otherwise, they're comfortable. I love the fact that there's this generous space and that I can wear a thicker sock versus my super thin socks. It's kind of nice to have that cushion. And honestly, with the insole, it's kind of dope having a little bit of that comfort. Though, again, I'm going to switch it to the leather just because I kind of like that molded feel. But extra layer is kind of nice. What do you think? Too big? Or make them work? You may see these again, or I'm going to end up selling them. We'll see. Peace.